Hi, I'm Terry, and you're watching Home Again. Well, today we're going to make this delicious dandelion bread. Yep, you heard me right. Like the title says, if you can't beat 'em, eat 'em. Hang out with me a while, and let's see if I can convince you that these little flowers or weeds, instead of a nuisance, are really a blessing. Let's go dandelion picking. Aren't they beautiful? I know they're really a weed, but they sure are pretty. Matter of fact, they're so pretty, I think I'm gonna eat them. Yep, you heard me right. Let's make some dandelion bread. So let me explain. Years ago, I found a recipe online for dandelion bread, and it was so interesting to me that I saved the recipe all these years, and I took it out this spring when I saw some dandelions blooming, and I thought, let's give it a try. So I changed the original recipe up and made some substitutions for things I had in my house. That way, you should have everything you need in the fridge or the cupboard. No unique ingredients in this one. Except for the dandelion petals, of course. So, of course, as you can see, I made this video in the spring, and I made it at the end of dandelion season, so I never got to post it. But then I did some research online recently and found out that dandelions not only bloom in the spring, but they also bloom in the fall. They're more plentiful in the spring, but they do bloom in the fall. At least that's what the internet tells us. So keep your eyes open, and if you get a little batch of dandelions this fall, try making some bread. Of course, you don't want to take dandelions from a yard or a park or somewhere where they've been spraying pesticides or anything like that. We're out in the country, nothing's been sprayed on this lawn, and that's why the dandelions are happy here. We didn't really get very many of them, and the ones that I was picking were really pretty tiny for dandelions, so I had to search around and get enough of them to get a cup of dandelion petals. But I was able to do it. Well, it's finally turning spring in Michigan, and the apple tree is in full bloom. Can you see all those bumblebees up in it? Yikes. I hope they don't come after me. I'm not here to hurt you guys. Yowza. They are very active and possessive. I'm gonna back away, I think. Oops. It's the big bumblebees too. I thought it would be like the smaller honeybees. See if I can get a view over here. My husband, well, he couldn't mow really close because they're under it. Maybe at night they'll calm down. Wow. Gonna be lots of apples this year. The deer will love that. Can you hear them? I love spring. Everything's new. Okay, back to business here. Now let's get these dandelions washed up really well here. I tried a couple different ways, but this is the best way I found to do it. Just hold them by the stems and really rinse the water over them. And then I put them in a little cup of water, like a vase of flowers, and let them set until I was ready to pluck the petals off. Anyways, while you're watching this, let me do a little explaining. Now, what intrigued me to go about and make dandelion bread was when I was a little girl, my mom and dad, we lived in a small town on a main street, and my mom and dad would go out into the yard and dig up dandelions. Not just the flowers, but the leaves. I don't know about the roots, but I remember them having a knife or something and actually digging them out of the ground. And I would be so embarrassed thinking, oh my gosh, my parents are picking weeds, and I thought everybody knew that they were taking them into the house and eating them. But I was the dummy, because turns out my mom and dad were pretty smart, because dandelions are really good for you. If you don't believe me, then go to the Cleveland Clinic, go to that website, or to healthline.com, and they'll tell you all the great things that dandelions can do for you. Now, of course, there's always warnings, so I highly recommend going to those websites and checking them out yourself to see if there's any medications you're on that it might counteract with, or seasonal allergies. They tell you sometimes they can bother you that way. I can tell you my mom dealt with hay fever though, but she still ate dandelion. So gather your information yourself and see if you're comfortable with giving them a try. Now, as you can see here, my flowers kind of closed up when they were setting in that vase, which I think might have made it easier to get the little petals out. I don't know, I didn't try it the other way, but anyways, whether they close up or they stay open, you just give the petals a little gentle tug. Sometimes they come right out in a whole section, and other times you kind of go in with your fingernail and dig them out. And you try to avoid the little green husk. I mean, you can eat the whole dandelion from my understanding, but I was just using the petals in this recipe. I did get little pieces of green in there, as you can see, but I didn't want too much because I didn't know if it would give a bitter taste or what, but we never noticed them, and it just added a little extra pretty color. Now, my parents must have not known about dandelion bread. What they did is I think they took the greens in. The greens, I don't know if they used the flowers, but they would saute them somehow in a pan. So if anybody out there knows, if you'd leave in the comment sections how people eat dandelions that way, I sure would love to know, because I can't remember exactly how my mom and dad ate them. So here we go, folks. We're going to get on with the show. Got all my ingredients ready. We're going to throw this together. So we're going to put all our dry ingredients. This was 2 cups of flour, just regular all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and we're just gonna whisk this together. Now to this, we are going to add our dandelion petals. They look kind of nasty, don't they? Our cup, that was 1 cup of dandelion petals. And we are going to add 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. I used canola oil. 1/2 cup, I used almond milk. I'm gonna see if it turns out. My almond milk looks a little weird because I poured it into the cup I measured the oil with, so it looks odd, that's why. And 1/4 cup of lemon juice. I was a little shy, but I'm not gonna worry about it, because then I also decided to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Makes up for any lack of liquid, hopefully. And then our 3/4 cup of sugar. Oh, I guess that should have went in with my dry ingredients, shouldn't it? Oh well. I'm just gonna mix her up. It seems to be lacking in moisture, doesn't it? Wow. I don't know about this, folks. I'm thinking maybe I should use a mixer. We're gonna keep doing this and see where we end up. Wow, I didn't expect it to be like a dough. I expected it to be more like a batter. This is a very, very thick batter. I'm gonna get up the sides here and get that flour off the sides of the bowl. Okay, we're gonna give it a whirl, see what happens here. Tried to incorporate it as good as I could. Ugh. Holding a plastic bowl. I don't have all my bowls. They're in storage still, so this old red plastic bowl is getting used for everything. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Can you see all the little dandelion petals and some of the greens in it? Let's see what happens, folks. We're gonna put it in a bread pan. I should have gotten this ready ahead of time, but I didn't. But that's okay. Spray up my pan here. Put this in the bread dish. Did not expect it to be such a thick batter. This is scary. Oh well, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Sorry for blocking your view. Not much to see right now. It's a very thick, stiff batter. I've never made a bread, like my banana bread is not thick like this. So we'll see. We'll spread it around, try to even it out so it bakes level. Let's see if I can get a better spoon. Sticky. It wants to stick to the spoon and everything. It is a very thick batter. It seems like it needs more liquid, but we'll find out. I hope it's not dry or just like a brick. If it is, you can save yourself a bunch of time, right? Learn from my mistakes. If it turns out, I'm going to be amazed. I think I'll post this whether it turns out or not, just so you can know. It kind of looks like grass in it. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna plop her in the oven. Okay, I'm back because I didn't check my temp on my oven. The thermostat is broken, so I use a thermometer inside it, and it's not to 350 yet. But when it is, we're going to put it in a 350 oven for 40 to 45 minutes. So I just got to get my oven up to 350, and then I'll put it in and start timing it. See you later. Okay, so while we're waiting for our banana bread, it's in the oven at 350. I've got it set for 30 minutes to check, but it could take up to 45. We're gonna make some glaze for it when it comes out. I'm gonna put it in a little Tupperware here, so then that way I can cover it up and it won't dry out before I can put it on the dandelion bread, I guess it is. I don't know if it's bread or cake. So I put in a half cup of powdered sugar and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I didn't have fresh lemons on hand, so I just used one of those little squeeze bottles of lemon juice. And then I'm gonna put in a teaspoon of vanilla. And all my teaspoons are dirty, so we're just gonna eyeball it. That looks about right, I think. Take a fork here, mix it up. I'm making a mess as usual. What I specialize in, making messes. Probably should have did this in a bowl. I just thought I could do 2 things at once. Make it in the container it's gonna go in. Probably would have been easier if the container was round. It's looking a little grainy. Powdered sugar isn't dissolving really well.
Maybe I should have sifted it into it. There it goes. I'm just breaking up a little more. And I'm gonna give it a taste. Ooh, that's got a tang to it. Yeah. I'm gonna add a little more powdered sugar. Plus it will thicken it up a little. Wow, that's got some zip. I don't think the bread's gonna have much sweetness. We'll see. Sorry to keep changing it up on you, but it just wasn't the right consistency. So total, I have 1 cup of powdered sugar to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now I think we're getting to the right consistency, because you don't want it to just totally run off the bread. You want it to drizzle down the sides, but you want some of it to stay on it too. So yeah, we're looking better now. Can you see that? Now we'll see if it still tastes tart and not too sweet, I hope. Yep, it's still got a nice zip to it. Good stuff. So now that I have it this consistency, I think I will cover it, because I'm gonna let the bread sit out here for a while to cool. I don't want to eat it hot, since I'm hoping it will be more like a dessert bread. Although I do like my banana bread hot. Yeah, that turned out nice and creamy too. Look at that, nice glaze. I think we got a winner now, folks. With the bread, I don't know yet, but with icing, yes. Put a lid on it. We'll be back. Look at this, it looks pretty good. I'm surprised. Sorry about my lighting here. That looks pretty yummy. It's a little dented because before it was done, I touched it to see and I kind of dented it a little. But I'm gonna let it set and cool, probably for at least an hour. See if I can get it out of the pan. It's smelling good. I don't usually let my bread set in the pan that long, but that's what was recommended. An hour. Whoop. Oh, hey, it worked. Wow. Thank you, Lord. Nice and moist. Look at that. Pretty. Smells good. Man. Pretty perfectly done. Let's try this out. If my glaze is runny, that way it won't go off the plate. Perfect consistency, and it still stayed tart. Adding that extra sugar didn't make it too sweet. We'll see if this bread has any sweetness to it on its own. Maybe we'll let that set a little bit and see if it gets like crispy, or you know, like an iced glaze. There it is. The glaze hardened, so pretty.
Well, when I started out to make this, folks, it was like a mad science experiment. I really didn't know if it was going to turn out, if it was going to be a win or a fail. And it was a winner, believe me. It was delicious. I didn't know at first if it was going to be like a dinner bread. Well, then they told me to put icing on it. So I figured it was going to be like a dessert bread. And it is. It's like a really moist, kind of like a lemony pound cake. It's delicious. It's actually become one of my favorite desserts. Well, this is going to be a first, folks. Whoa. That is really super good. I can't believe I'm eating a dandelion. It's delicious. Who would have thought? Open up. Yum. Here I took it outside in the sunlight because the lighting's so bad in the cabin to try to get you a good look at the little petals in the batter and the little pieces of green too. It was so good. My husband was actually looking forward to more dandelions popping up and asking me to make it again. I made it a total of 2 times, and both times it came out perfect, and it was really, really good. So if you see some dandelions popping up in your yard this fall, give it a try. And if you've missed the window of opportunity for this fall, then wait for next spring, and when they pop up in your yard, remember the crazy lady that made dandelion bread. And come back and watch this video again and give it a try. I think you're gonna like it. If you've made it to the end of this silly little video, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, if you'd click that subscribe button at the end of this video, I sure would appreciate it. I'd love for you to be part of our little YouTube family here. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you next time.